Spider-Man has just recently been released on PC, and with the influx of new players web swinging through the Big Apple, I thought it would be appropriate to make a beginner's guide that explains some of the basic features and gameplay to get you through your first few hours in the game. I will be covering the web swinging, initial story, skills, gadgets, suits, and some of the open world activities that you will be taking part in for the first few hours of the experience. As always, if you enjoy this guide, you should subscribe to become part of the less than 1% who's actually subscribed, and stay up to date with future guides and videos. Also, comment any ideas for videos, games, or guides you would like to see me cover in the future. But without further ado, let's swing right into the guide. The game's story is an original plot by Insomniac. This allowed for some liberty with characters, the timeline, and some of the background plot. You'll start by taking down one of Spider-Man's most known villains, Wilson Fisk, otherwise known as the Kingpin of Crime, and the story will deal with the aftermath of his defeat at the hands of Spider-Man. You, of course, will be the one trying to save the city, as well as a few major characters from new threats, as well as old ones. The story will have some sections where you will be forced to play as characters that are not Spider-Man. These are for me some of the most tedious and boring sections, but they are great for developing the characters as well as providing some more details to certain events that have already happened, or serve as a good foreshadowing for things that happen later in the game. But these sections are few and far between, with some exceptions of course, but the set pieces are great, and there's plenty of tense scenes between characters, so you'll probably enjoy playing through the story, especially with the great gameplay and set pieces. Navigating through the city will have you jumping off rooftops, parkouring through the streets, and jumping off lamps, railings, fences, and water towers in order to swing from buildings at insane speeds. Web swinging is easy, and you will improve it very fast, as its intuitive nature also allows you to make some very flashy and elegant moves without much effort or input. But besides web swinging, there's parkour, which I mentioned earlier. By holding the swing button while on the ground, you will run and automatically jump, slide, or fall over most objects. All of these have various animations and speeds that will allow you to dodge or navigate more enclosed spaces. Aside from swinging and parkour, you also have the wall crawling and wall running. That will give you a more precise means of scaling buildings or navigating through elevator shafts or ventilation systems. And trust me, you'll be navigating through plenty of those. It's important to know that most of the navigation is based on momentum. So jumping from a tall building, building up speed by falling, and extending the line at the last second will give you a considerable amount more speed compared to just jumping and throwing the web without much momentum. To add some speed or even conserve most of your momentum mid-air, you have the web zip, which thrusts you in the direction that you aim. This can also be used to make sharper turns or drop all of your momentum instantly for an immediate stop. And by leveling up or investing in some skills, you'll be able to enhance your web swing to increase the speed and efficiency during traversal, as well as unlock the ability to perform air tricks that grant some XP, besides letting you add some more flair to your swings. As an added tip, for speed, make sure to jump off during the middle of your arc, and for height, make sure to jump when you're at the peak of the swing. Combat in Spider-Man is most similar to the Arkham games. However, it is more refined and requires more skill. As I'm sure you're aware, the Arkham games had a counter button that prevented damage and attacked enemies in the same animation. This led to most people just spamming the counter button without much thought or skill put into dealing with groups of enemies. In Spider-Man, however, there is no counter button. You can only evade, meaning that you have to actively time your attacks to deal damage and defeat enemies. Not to mention, combat has the added layer of verticality. You throw enemies into the air, and continue beating them without being hit by thugs using melee weapons. This allows you to focus on singular enemies since the game doesn't have a lot of area of effect attacks. You also have finishers, similar to the Arkham game's takedowns, which rely on bars that fill throughout combat, and these same bars can also be used to recover health during combat, making a good microeconomy of eliminating enemies or preventing having to risk losing the fight. The added skills, gadgets, and unique ultimate-like suit abilities add a ton of customization and modularity during combat, and webbing is by far the best way to quickly deal with enemies, since if an enemy becomes webbed near a wall or while on the ground, they will stick to the surface and be removed from combat. The same goes for throwing them off buildings. They will just stick to the nearest wall, and this lets you be more or less aggressive during combat. Less aggressive webbing approach being faster than the more combat heavy one, and both being just as fun and immersive in my opinion. And all the gadgets that you can use during combat to launch enemies, like web bombs, gravity generators, electric webs, and spider drones that blast enemies with small projectiles, which have a limited amount that can only be restocked or refilled by defeating enemies. There is also the web strike, which can be used in a few ways as a means of closing distance while dealing damage. Great for when you bring webs to a gunfight. And you can throw objects or even enemies at other thugs, like wrecking balls that cause major damage or just send them flying into walls and buildings. Overall, making the second most used feature in the game just as enjoyable as the web sword. There are 3 skill trees that will allow you to get new abilities that aid you in combat, stealth, and traversal. Some allow you to build focus up faster, while others allow you to gain XP from performing tricks and increasing the speed of your point launch, or just throwing live rockets back at the enemy goons. Unlike other games, you can unlock every skill at once, so there is no such thing as best skills, and that's mostly due to most of these skills not granting you any great or specific advantage. So this means that you can unlock skills in the order you choose rather than unlocking them for significant advantages or benefits. And since you can use them all at once, you don't need to worry about skills affecting your playstyle, rather how they would enhance it, giving you more versatility. Gadgets are similar to skills, as you will unlock them all as you progress through the game, with only 1 or 2 needing you to unlock them without any prompts. They offer some great extensions to combat. Almost all of these gadgets are web-based though, naturally, but there are 3 that are not web-based, these being the gravity generator, the spider bot, and the concussive blast. The generator and blast serve more to keep enemies stunned and provide some breathing room should you be overwhelmed, while the spider bot deals damage and distracts enemies. Every other gadget is used to subdue enemies or web them up, leaving them open to attack or to outright remove them from combat. Great for crowd control and fast enemy disposal. Each gadget has an upgrade tree that increases the amount you can carry and its effectiveness, and this effectiveness is specific to the upgrade or gadget itself. The suits are probably my favorite part of the game's customization. There are tons of options that allow you to dress up as your favorite Spider-Man from the comics, movies, or shows. Every suit you unlock has a special suit power. It's like your ultimate attack that recharges over time. And some of these are great for combat, traversal, or just entertaining. Everything from recharging focus automatically to increasing speed, making you deal up to 8 times damage, or just making you use cleverly written quips during combat. Every suit has great detail and attention given to it, and most will feature reactive lenses, so you can see when Spidey squints or uses his eyes. And while making some suits not have animated lenses, They made sure to put as much detail into Spidey's body language and delivery of the voice lines that you will still feel immersed. The suits also have 3 perk slots, where you can use buffs that improve health recovered from focus, reduce incoming damage, or just making you harder to detect during stealth. All of these powers, suits, and bonuses can be used without restriction, so you can have a combination that suits your playstyle, allowing you to further customize your experience. There are a plethora of collectibles, challenges, and side missions for you to complete. Completing these will grant you the necessary items you will need to make new suits, gadgets, and plenty of XP that will level you up super fast. And at random times you will receive crime alerts, which will notify you of crimes you can stop for some resources and XP. There are also gang hideouts that provide some great combat encounters, as well as collecting backpacks for backstory or swinging through the city, taking pictures of important landmarks. Not to mention the research station side missions, where you have to solve problems throughout the city for Harry Osborn's pet project. All of these activities make use of every gameplay feature and ensure you are properly rewarded. So make sure that you take part in them as much as you can to make progression a lot easier. I also suggest fixing the towers as early as possible to improve your web swinging while unlocking all the icons on your map at the same time. And also make sure to check up on the science lab projects that provide XP and research tokens whenever a mission makes you drop by. And with that, you should now have a better idea of how to begin your superhero journey and one of gaming's best takes on the genre. I will be making some more guides for the game that will cover the best ways to gain XP and level up, as well as go more in depth with some of the side missions, so be sure to like and subscribe so you can stay updated. Have a good one, and bye.